Welcome to the Tiffany Micah podcast. What we do here is build the strength and courage in you to accomplish your big dreams and goals in your sport. No longer will you feel limited. You won't feel you're not good enough. You won't question whether you will make it. Those doubts will disappear because you will have the competitive edge over your opponents and leave them in your wake. And the bonus is others will notice. Listen up and take notes because I will show you exactly how to do it. Hey there, Tiff here. Welcome to the Tiffany Micah podcast. So if I asked you the question, hey Rebecca, hey Caitlin, hey Joanna, hey you, what is the most important thing to focus on when you compete? And I have a pretty good feeling that you're going to say win. And of course that's what you want. That's what we all want. We all love to win. But focusing on winning is actually not going to give you the results. And I know I've been talking about my niece's soccer team lately from last year, but a lot of these things have really triggered it. So last year when my niece's soccer team were playing their semi-final, when we were in the warming up stage, all we focused on was feeling the ball. This is what I made sure the kids focused on: feeling the ball, executing some shots, getting the feet moving, and working on our Star Wars strategy. So if you haven't heard me talk about the Star Wars strategy, it's just it's keeping the ball away from the center of the field that we called the Death Star, and the team were Jedis, and they had to fly the ball up around the Death Star down to the other end of the field, which was keeping the ball down the side of the field, that kind of thing. So we keep the ball away from the center, because a lot of kids in that age group, which was the 12s and below, tend to keep the ball around the middle of the field. So we developed this, what I called Star Wars strategy. And I also heard the other team warming up at the same time that we were going to be playing against. And you know what they were focused on? They were focused on the coach was yelling at them saying, what are you going to do? And they're going to say, we're going to win. What are you going to do? We're going to win. What are you going to do? We're going to win. And they did a few warm-up drills and so on. I found it really nerve-wracking. I felt like I was playing as well. I haven't felt so nerve-wracked in a sport for quite some time, because I haven't competed for a while. And I could just feel everything that the kids were feeling. I wish I could get on the field and help them. It was great. Like, it was a great feeling, but nerve-wracking to watch them play as well, because I had no control over that. And all I wanted them to be focused on in that was our Star Wars strategy, so keeping that ball away from the Death Star. Can you imagine what they did in the first half? This was what made it so nerve-wracking for me, was they were playing the ball into the Death Star. They were playing the ball into the center of the field the whole of the first half. It was driving me mental, because I said to them, look, we've got this strategy. Keep the ball up the side. I said, just focus on keeping the ball away from the Death Star. That's all I kept yelling out, because I didn't want the other team to pick up what I was talking about. But where does Darth Vader hang out and all the bad guys, the stormtroopers? They hang out around the Death Star, don't they? Well, Darth Vader no longer exists, from the original series, though he did. And that's when I grew up, it was when, Darth Vader and Star Wars came out. But the Death Star was in the center of the field. So they weren't even actually focusing on their strategy at all. And I can guarantee it was doing my head in, absolutely doing my head in. I'm like, what's going on with these kids? Why are they not applying this strategy? And I'm not being biased here. I felt that our team was actually a better team, not on paper, because our team was actually never expected to get as far as they did. They made it to the semis. That was that semi-final that they were playing. They were never expected to get there. And they can play. You know, the team that they were playing against can play as well. But I said to them at half time, I said, what is going on? Like, they were all over the place. They were being, and they're 12, right? So they're still silly and mucking around and all that sort of thing. But I said, well, what is going on? And what was happening was they were frightened of losing. And because they were so frightened of losing, they were playing like they wanted to lose. So they were doing all the strategies we talked about not to do as well. Keep the ball away from the middle of the field. So what did they keep doing? Because they were focusing on losing, they kept playing the ball to the middle of the field. Straight into the Stormtroopers' lap. Straight into the Death Star. And the reason that I wanted to keep them away, that ball away from the center of the field, simply because their strikers were really strong, very skillful players. So we did not want to give them any advantage whatsoever to get the ball. So what were they focusing on here? They were focusing on the result. They were actually focusing on not losing. And that's a terrible place to be. But this happens all the time with athletes. If they focus on the result and they don't play anywhere near their capabilities, because what are they doing? They're focusing on the wrong things, aren't they? Just like the team was. After that half, by the way, we managed to flip them around and they got it together, because I actually got quite angry with them because it was just out of frustration. And I didn't scream at them, but I said, come on, like, do you guys want to win? You guys and girls want to win? They're like, yeah. And I said, well, play like you want to win. What did we focus on? Star Wars, keep the ball away from the middle of the field. What did they do in the next half? Focused on keeping the ball away from the center of the field. You know what happened? They made it through to the final. It was incredibly exciting. Nerve-wracking, yet very exciting. But if we go back to talking about, like, when you compete and you're focusing on the result, and that's the goal, right? The goal is, like, you want to win. Who wants to lose? No one likes to lose. It's hard. It's hard losing. It's awful feeling like a loser because you feel like a failure. But if you focus on the wrong things, and that'll be the goal or the result, then we do have a problem there. And, like, I'm always talking about setting a goal, because the goal's your destination and that's where you want to go. But I want you to be thinking about it this way, that there's a series of steps that you're going to have to take to get there. And one of those most important steps is actually focusing on staying in the moment. And that's what I really got my niece's team to work on in the second half. I got them to focus on staying in the moment. And the focus of staying in the moment was focusing on what they had to do, which was keep the ball away from the Death Star. Go up the side of the field. Play the Star Wars strategy, right? They're Jedi Knights flying the ball down the field. So if you think about it, when you've competed or practiced or even trained, when have you actually done that, like you've performed at your best? Have a really good think about it. Because I bet you it's those times when you compete at your best, those times when you've practiced at your best, those times when you've trained at your best, you've actually been in the moment, in that zone. And I love being in the zone. Oh, gosh, I think that's the most magical place to be when you're an athlete, is playing in the zone. Because I can remember so many matches, tennis matches in the past, where I was in the zone. I was calm. I anticipated well. I felt like I could do anything, like I was unstoppable. Amazing feeling. And when I took up golf and I played in golf, and I learnt and developed all these skills, I could do that a lot more often, right? Tennis, it was a bit of a fluke. if I got into a moment. A lot of the time, as I got older, it was more my head got in the way, and that flow didn't tend to happen so much anymore. But that was because I didn't know how to manage my head. But with golf, I learned all these skills along the way. So the power that I have now, even to this point now, is that I can click myself into a zone or get pretty close to a zone pretty quickly because I've trained myself to do that. And it's all about learning to stay in the moment. Interesting, isn't it? If you think about it, when you compete, all it is, it's just like a series of staying in the moments. That's all it is. It's stringing all those staying in the moment pieces together. Guess what's going to happen? It's going to help you perform at the best that you can, and it will give you a much better result. So I want you to be thinking about that. If you can perform the best that you can in that moment, like staying in that moment, then it's going to give you a much better result. Well, how is it possible to do that? Because it is possible. It's possible to get there much more often than you probably are. And if you can't quite get right into that zone, then you can get to a place that's pretty close to that. I've been in a state where it's been heightened, like it's felt like it's been beyond the zone. It's quite an amazing experience. It's quite, I can't describe it, but like you feel like your senses are all highly tuned. It's an incredible feeling. But I want you to think about, okay, well, how am I going to do that? How am I going to work on getting myself into playing in that moment, or staying in that moment, or getting myself into that zone? What I want you to be doing is I want you to be thinking that you're going to start training your brain in the sense of every time that you practice for your sport, or train for your sport in the sense of even the fitness element of it, I want you to be working on staying in the moment. And as soon as you feel that your mind drifts off, I want you to stop. And I want you to see if you can bring your focus back to what you're doing, because it's easy to get distracted. It's easy for random thoughts to pop into your head. Even like these days when I go out and play golf, even though I know how to manage things, sometimes I get these random thoughts that pop into my head and I'm like, where'd that come from? Right? Because it happens. So what we need to do is like be aware and then bring ourselves back. And everyone believes this. It's quite interesting when I teach people, especially with golf at the moment, is like everyone believes that if you think too much about what you do, you actually stop the flow of your shots. But if you look at it the way I look at it, because I'm a technician, like any sport that I've ever played or any sport that I would ever teach, it's all about being mechanically efficient. So my attitude is like, if you think in the beginning and you learn how to execute each shot, like each piece of the technique, and you work on getting each piece of the technique right, and only when you've got all those pieces working in unison, working the right way, the flow that you're going to create from that is going to happen so much better than trying to just make it happen and not think. So it frustrates me when people turn around to me and say, oh, well, if I don't think, I do it better. Well, no, that's a load of baloney. That's not true. You have to actually think and understand of what it needs to feel like. You have to go slow. Make sure you get your technique right. I don't care what sport it is. You got to do it slow so you can get the pieces in place. Break each part of the technique down. Get each thing working in in little segments. Get the little segments right, then build the segments back together. That's how it works so much better. When you can do that and each piece works so much better, you know what? Then the flow happens. So what I want you to do is I want you to see if you can train yourself to feel the technique by staying in the moment. So initially it's going to be some thinking, and you're going to be stopping and starting quite a bit because you want to have a better understanding of what's going on. But eventually, it's all just going to flow, and it's going to be so much better. So much better. But we've got to learn how to train ourselves to stay in the moment, haven't we? So let's get the technique right. By you focusing on getting your technique right and staying in the moment, it's going to really help everything that you do. So before you go, have you got a copy of my book, Focus: How to Reach Your Potential in Sport, Business and Life yet? If you haven't, make sure you go and get a copy. You can get a free copy of the book. All you need to do is go to tiffanymica.com/free book. I wrote it for you. It's lessons learned from sport. It's my take on how to reach your potential. But I pose questions. I get you to think about what you need to do to accomplish what you want. This is all about you. This is why I wrote the book. I wrote it for you. This is why I do the podcast show. I did it for you. This is why I've established the Get Focused Academy. It's all to help you accomplish your big dreams in your sport. I want you to go for it, okay? You got to crush it. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Love it if you could share with me what you like best about what you heard. If you've got friends that you know that would benefit from these episodes, love it too if you could share these episodes with your friends, because we want to build the Successful Athlete community as big as we possibly can. And I want you to dream big, believe in you, go after your dreams. Take care. Talk soon. Don't go anywhere. Just hang on. Don't go anywhere. Let's crush it when we compete. Come on. Have you signed up yet for the Successful Athlete Masterclass? We look at what's holding you back, what skills you will need to succeed, and how to accomplish your sports goals. Go to tiffanymica.com/Sam. Look forward to seeing you there. Dream big, believe in you, go after your dreams. Let's crush it when you compete.